My ex-wife was a lawyer, my new wife's a maid. My husband declared at Thanksgiving, laughing with 17 people. Enjoy listening my new story.
17 people at that table, 3 kinds of stuffing, sweet potato casserole with the little marshmallows on top, a turkey the size of a Labrador, and my husband, Warren Kovacs, holding court with a glass of Merlot and the confidence of a man who has never once been told to stop talking. He tapped his fork against the glass, like a toast was coming. And honey, something was coming. My ex-wife was a lawyer, corporate litigation, big firm, the whole deal. And my new wife, he pointed the fork at me, my new wife's a maid. Pause for laughter. And laughter came from his cousin Rick, from Rick's wife, from his buddy at the far end who I'd met twice and whose name I'm still not sure about. 17 people, and about 9 of them thought it was the funniest thing they'd heard since Thanksgiving started. I pressed my hands flat against my thighs under the tablecloth. The stuffing on my plate was getting cold. I smiled, because that's what I did back then. I smiled so hard my back teeth ached. But that night at Dolores's table, that was the last grain of sand on a pile I'd been stacking for over 2 years. And if you're going to understand what happened at that table, I need to take you through every single crack in the foundation, one by one, because that's how it happens in real life, not with one big blow. With 100 tiny ones you keep stepping over like shoes left in the hallway. 2.5 years before that Thanksgiving, I was finishing up after a holiday party at a client's home in Simsbury, Connecticut. Big colonial, heated floors, the kind of kitchen where the fridge has its own zip code. The guests had mostly cleared out. I was wrapping leftover cheese boards in cling film when a man walked back in through the side door holding a scarf he'd forgotten. That was Warren. 40 years old, charming the way guys who sell things for a living tend to be. Quick with a compliment, quicker with a joke. He sold surgical equipment for Hologic, had a business card and everything. He asked about my work, and when I told him I ran a residential cleaning service, 11 regular clients, solo operation, he said something nobody in his tax bracket had ever said to me, that it was a real business, and that it took guts. 3 weeks later, a backyard barbecue at his friend's place in West Hartford. That's where he introduced me. His buddy Derek, actually, let me call him Derek because his real name is too recognizable, and this is a small Connecticut town where everybody knows everybody's dental hygienist. So Derek. Warren walked me over to the grill, one hand on my lower back, and said, "Derek, this is Julia. She's the one I've been going on about. Julia DuPont. That's me. 31 at the time, owner of DuPont Residential Services, driver of a 2018 Chevy Equinox with a cargo organizer bolted to the trunk and a Pine air freshener that had stopped working in February but still hung from the mirror because I like looking at it. I've seen the insides of 40 refrigerators in this town. You learn a lot about people from what's growing in their produce drawer. You learn even more from who's embarrassed by you and who's not. At that barbecue, someone, Derek's wife, I think, asked me what I did. And before I could answer, Warren jumped in. She helps people out with their houses. Not, she runs a cleaning business. Not, she's a business owner and helps people out with their houses. I didn't register it. I was too busy being happy. Warren had this grin, this wide, boyish, slightly crooked grin, and when he turned it on you, you forgot what you were worried about. That grin should have come with a warning label and a return policy. But I'm getting ahead of myself. We got married in a courthouse ceremony on a Tuesday in April because Warren said big weddings were a scam designed to bankrupt people who are already in love, which sounded romantic at the time. In hindsight, it sounded like a man who didn't want to spend money on me. But hindsight is a show-off. She always arrives late and acts like she knew everything. 6 months in, our kitchen on Spruce Hill Drive in Glastonbury. 4-bedroom colonial, mortgage payment of $2,190 a month, which Warren insisted on handling personally. He sat me down one evening with a stack of envelopes and a glass of sweet tea and explained, very calmly, that his first marriage had left him in financial wreckage. Tanya, the ex, the lawyer, the one whose name came up the way weather comes up in small talk, had supposedly bled him dry. Attorney fees, the settlement, the whole circus. He needed to handle the household finances himself this time. Keep them organized. Keep them safe. Made sense to me. The man had been through it. Why would I make him relive the trauma by asking to see the checking account? Lord, I want to go back and shake myself sometimes. The Tanya comparisons started small. Dinner at a Thai place in Glastonbury with his college friend and the friend's wife. Warren, 3 beers in, gets sentimental. Starts telling the table how Tanya always kept their house spotless. But since that was literally my profession, they were in good shape. Everyone laughed, including me. I told myself it was a compliment. If you squint hard enough, you can make anything look like a compliment. That's a skill they should teach in school. First time at Dolores's house, Warren's mother, 69, retired school librarian, lived in a tidy ranch in Wethersfield with lace curtains and a ceramic cat collection that could fill a small museum. She opened the door, hugged Warren like he'd been gone for 6 years instead of 6 days, then looked at me and called me the new one, which tells you everything you need to know about how that family processes women. Warren introduced me before I could open my mouth, told his mother I cleaned houses. Not, this is Julia, not, she's my wife. She cleans houses. Dolores gave me a look I still can't describe. Not warm, not cold, like she was filing me in a cabinet inside her head and hadn't decided on the label yet. Meanwhile, the mail kept arriving. One afternoon, I was sorting the stack on the kitchen counter because Warren usually let it pile up for days. An envelope caught my eye. Logo in the corner, Northeast Marine Insurance Group. Warren materialized out of nowhere, swiped it off the counter, said it was junk mail, and dropped it in the recycling bin under the sink. Fast, like a magic trick. Now you see it, now you don't. I didn't think about it. We didn't own a boat. Why would I think about it? That same weekend, Lily came for her first visit. Warren's daughter from the first marriage. 14, quiet in the way. Teenagers are quiet when they've decided you're not worth the effort. She sat on the couch with her phone and her earbuds and communicated entirely through monosyllables. I made her a grilled cheese. She took it to her room. I counted that as a win. The humor helps, by the way. If I couldn't laugh about this stuff, I'd have to acknowledge that I spent 2 years married to a man who spent $55 a month on a beard oil subscription because he saw an ad for it during a football game. $55. To smell like a lumberjack who minored in philosophy. That bottle sat on the bathroom counter like a tiny, overpriced monument to male vanity. At the next family dinner, this one at Dolores's, she asked me to help set the table, carry the roast, fill the water glasses. I looked around. Warren's Aunt Greta was sitting with a glass of wine. His cousin Rick's wife was on the couch. Nobody else was asked, just me. Dolores never asked Tanya to help. I knew because Warren had told me. Tanya just sat there like a guest, didn't lift a finger, and Dolores hated it. So I lifted all the fingers, every single one, a year in. And here's the thing about a pattern. Everyone around you can see it except you. You're standing inside it. It's like wallpaper. You stop noticing. Couples dinner at a friend's house. Warren, 2 glasses of wine into the evening, starts doing his routine. Describes me to his friends as domestic, like I was a breed of cat. Tanya was corporate, very driven, very sharp. Julia's more domestic. I smiled. My jaw ached from all the smiling I'd done in the past 12 months. If someone had x-rayed my face, my jaw muscles would have looked like I'd been training for the Olympic smiling team. Meanwhile, my business was actually growing. I'd picked up 2 new clients in Avon, and then something exciting happened. A lead on a dental practice. Dr. Kessler's office on Route 44, commercial cleaning. This was different from residential. This was a contract with a schedule and a monthly rate, and the kind of thing that makes the difference between a side hustle and an actual company. I told Warren about it over dinner. I was practically bouncing. He chewed his chicken, looked up, and asked me to grab his dry cleaning on the way tomorrow, the one on Hebron Avenue that closes at 6. This has nothing to do with anything, but Dolores makes a banana bread that could end wars. She brings it to every gathering in the same foil-wrapped loaf pan, and every single time it's perfect. Moist, dense, a little crispy on the edges. I hate that about her. You can't fully dislike a woman whose banana bread makes you want to cry. Okay, back to the mess. All right, hold on. Before I keep going, I need to say something real quick. If you're still with me, if this story is hitting a nerve or making you want to shake me through the screen, hit that subscribe button. And do me a favor, drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from and what time it is there. I read every single one. Someone from Tucson commented at 3 in the morning on my last story, and I genuinely want to know what's keeping Tucson up at night. Okay, back to Warren and his endless parade of nonsense. So, Dr. Kessler's office. I waited for the callback. 1 week, then 2, nothing. I finally called them myself, and the office manager, very polite, very confused, said they'd left a voicemail on my cell weeks ago. When I never returned it, they hired someone else. No voicemail. I checked my phone 3 times. Inbox saved, recently deleted. Nothing. I let it go. I let a lot of things go back then. My arms were getting tired from all the letting go. Then one night, Tuesday I remember because it was taco night, the one tradition Warren and I actually agreed on. He mentioned, casually, between bites of a shell that was falling apart in his hands, that Tanya had just made partner at her firm. Shipman and Goodwin. Big deal. Apparently the youngest partner in the litigation department. I set my taco down and asked how he knew that. He didn't even look up. Said it popped up on LinkedIn. He was following his ex-wife's career on LinkedIn the way some people follow the weather. And in 2 years of marriage, he had never once looked at my business's Facebook page. I know because the follower count was the same sad number it had been since I created it, 43. I would have noticed 44. Meanwhile, and this is the part that kept me sane, Lily was warming up, just barely. She came for her every other weekend visit, and this time her closet looked like a tornado had filed a complaint and then given up. Clothes, shoes, school papers, 3 hairbrushes, and a stuffed elephant she pretended she didn't still sleep with. I helped her organize it. We didn't talk much, but at one point she said I was really good at making things make sense. That girl. I tell you, that girl was the only thing in that house that didn't make me feel small. My mother-in-law can make you feel like family and like the help in the same sentence. It's honestly impressive. She should teach a master class. The voicemail that never was. That's what I kept circling back to in my head. Not because I suspected anything, just because it bothered me, like a hangnail, like a drawer that doesn't close all the way. Dr. Kessler's office said they called my cell. I never got the message. The office manager confirmed the date and the number they dialed. That was it. End of story. Contract gone. I told myself it was a tech glitch. Phones drop calls. Voicemails vanish into whatever digital graveyard voicemails go to. It happens. It happens, right? One Saturday morning, I decided to check our finances. Not because I was suspicious, because our car insurance renewal was coming up, and I needed the policy number. I sat down at the kitchen desk, opened Warren's laptop. He always left it open, password saved, and pulled up the Webster Bank site. New password required. I tried the old one, denied. I tried variations, denied. I tried his birthday, my birthday, Lily's birthday, the name of his childhood dog. All denied. When he got home from the gym, I asked, casually, just mentioned the password situation and the insurance renewal. The air in the kitchen changed. Not dramatically, not like a movie. More like the temperature dropped 2 degrees and you couldn't say exactly when. You sound exactly like Tanya, always checking up, always suspicious. That's why she ended up alone. I stood there at the counter with one hand on a dish towel and the other pressing against the edge of the granite so hard my fingertip turned white. And I apologized. I actually apologized for asking about my own bank account. I was running a cleaning business and cleaning up after this man's ego. Only one of those paid me. Now, Lily. This part still makes me angry, and not at Lily, at Warren. Lily had started asking me for help. Little things. How to organize her school binder, how to keep track of her babysitting money. I set her up with a simple spreadsheet. Income, expenses, savings goal. She loved it. She actually asked me a question about compound interest, and for a 14-year-old, that's basically a standing ovation. Warren walked in on us sitting at the dining table with the laptop open. His face did something complicated, and then he announced, loud enough for Dolores, who was visiting that day, to hear that Lily should ask her mom about money stuff because her mom was the smart one. He called me great with a mop. Lily's face went flat, like someone turned off a light behind her eyes. She closed the laptop, said, sure, and went to her room. I wanted to throw that laptop through the living room window. Instead, I wiped down the kitchen counter. Twice. Because that's what I did when I didn't know what else to do with the rage. I cleaned things. That same week, I noticed something on Warren's phone. Not snooping, He'd left it on the kitchen table face up while he was in the shower, and the screen lit up with a LinkedIn notification. Tanya Brennan's profile. Not just a notification. The app was open to her page. He wasn't casually getting updates. He was actively checking, regularly. The way you check on someone you can't stop thinking about. My husband was digitally stalking his ex-wife and had never once typed DuPont Residential Services into a search bar. I told Patrice. My friend Patrice Okonkwo runs a mobile pet grooming van called Patrice's Pampered Paws, divorced, takes zero nonsense from anyone, once told a man at a gas station that his opinion was not part of today's forecast. Patrice is the friend everybody deserves and almost nobody gets. She told me flat out that Warren was controlling me, that he had me apologizing for asking where my own money goes, and I said he was just stressed about money. The divorce wrecked him. I didn't know the whole picture. Patrice went quiet, which, if you know Patrice, is the loudest thing she can do. Here's something nobody tells you about being married to a man who lies. The lies don't bother you the most when you hear them. They bother you the most at 11 p.m. on a random Wednesday, when your brain decides to start organizing them into a spreadsheet without your permission. The voicemail, the bank password, the LinkedIn stalking, the Marina insurance envelope, the $1,400 at Defender Marine Supply in Mystic. Each one, by itself, had an explanation. But lined up, they started looking less like coincidences and more like a resume. But I wasn't there yet. Not consciously. My body was, though. My body had been filing complaints for months. Tight shoulders, grinding teeth at night. That thing where you wake up at 4 a.m. and your brain immediately pulls up every unanswered question you've been ignoring, like a pop quiz you didn't study for. One evening, I was scrolling through my phone, not looking for anything, just that mindless thumb scroll you do when you're avoiding your own thoughts, and I tapped into the voicemail app. Not the main inbox, the recently deleted folder, the one that exists because phones are better at remembering things than husbands want them to be. There it was. One voicemail, Avon area code. Duration, 47 seconds. Time stamped 3 weeks and 4 days ago. From Dr. Kessler's office. The call back, I never got. Someone had listened to it and deleted it from my phone. And there was only one other person in that house who picked up my phone when I was in the shower, who knew my passcode because he watched me type it every morning and who had every reason to want my business to stay small, manageable, and beneath him. I sat with that for a full day. Didn't say anything. Went to my Tuesday client in Farmington, cleaned her 3-bathroom colonial, organized her pantry, drove home. Normal. But inside my head, it was like someone had pulled a thread and the whole sweater was starting to come apart. That night, I brought it up, gently. Not an accusation. I'm not built that way. I mentioned the deleted voicemail, said I'd found it, asked if he knew anything about it. I've seen thunderstorms roll in faster than the expression that crossed Warren's face. First blank, then tight, then loud. You're obsessed with this little cleaning thing, Julia. You scrub floors. That's fine, it's honest work, but stop pretending you're building some empire. It's embarrassing for both of us. Embarrassing. My business, the one I built from a bucket and a Craigslist ad, was embarrassing to a man who sold surgical equipment he couldn't personally use, explain, or spell. I didn't respond. I went to the bedroom and closed the door, not because I was being dramatic, because if I stayed in that kitchen one more second, I was going to say something I couldn't take back, and I wasn't ready for that yet. The next morning, I didn't go to my first client's house. I drove to the Walgreens on Route 3 in Glastonbury, pulled into a spot near the back of the lot, next to a shopping cart corral and a pigeon that looked like it was also having a bad day, and I sat there for 45 minutes. I ate peanut butter crackers from the emergency snack stash in my cleaning supply bag. 6 little cracker sandwiches. That's either a breakdown or a business expense. Jury's still out. I called Patrice. I could barely talk. My nose was running and I was doing that hiccup breathing thing that makes you sound like a malfunctioning accordion. I told her maybe I should just drop the business, focus on the marriage. Maybe he was right. Maybe I was making this bigger than it is. Patrice was quiet for exactly 3 seconds. Then she threatened to drive to that Walgreens and physically remove the crackers from my hand if I didn't stop talking like that. I laughed. It came out sounding like a cough, but it was a laugh. I know what you're thinking. Why didn't she just leave? Honey, if leaving were easy, there'd be no story to tell. You don't leave because leaving means admitting you chose wrong. And admitting you chose wrong means sitting alone in a room with the woman in the mirror and asking her how she got here. That's scarier than any husband. That night, Warren came home with Thai takeout from that place on Main Street and a bouquet of tulips from the Stop and Shop on Hebron Avenue. I know they were from Stop and Shop because the $7.99 sticker was still on the cellophane. Romance on a budget. He kissed my forehead, told me he was sorry he snapped, and that he just worried about us. And I almost let the whole thing dissolve. Almost put the crackers and the parking lot and the voicemail into a box in my brain labeled things we don't talk about. Almost. 2 weeks later, Saturday morning. Warren was at the driving range with Rick. I was doing what I do when my brain can't sit still. I was cleaning the garage. Occupational hazard. Some people meditate, some people run. I reorganize storage bins and sweep concrete floors. We all cope differently. I moved Warren's golf bag. The backup one he kept in the garage, not the good one he carried around like it was a third child. Behind it, pushed into the corner, a plastic storage bin. Gray lid, no label. I'd never opened it. It was Warren's stuff. I didn't go through Warren's stuff until I did. Inside, file folders. Neatly organized, which should have been my first clue that something was wrong, because Warren didn't organize anything except his beard oil collection. First folder. Final decree of dissolution. State of Connecticut, Warren R. Kovach, plaintiff, versus Tanya M. Kovach, defendant. I read it standing up, leaning against the workbench, with garage dust on my knees. Tanya waived spousal support. Tanya surrendered the marital residence. Tanya retained only her individual retirement account and her personal vehicle, a 2016 Audi Q5. That was it. That was everything she took. Warren kept the house. Warren kept the furniture. Warren kept the joint savings. Tanya walked away with her 401k and her car. He told me she destroyed him. He told me attorneys bled him dry. He told me the system was rigged against men, and Tanya's lawyer made sure he'd be paying for years. Second folder. A Connecticut Certificate of Title. 2019 Bayliner 195 Bowrider. Owner, Warren R. Kovach. Mooring address, Mystic River Marina. Slip 14, Mystic, Connecticut. Slip fee, $340 per month. Insurance through Northeast Marine Insurance Group. The boat, he said, didn't exist. The debt he blamed on Tanya. The financial ruin he used to justify controlling every dollar I earned. Third folder. 3 credit card statements he'd never shown me. Discover, Capital One, and a Lowe's store card. Combined balance, $19,700. All in his name. All racked up after the divorce based on the statement dates, not Tanya's debt, his, from the years he was supposedly rebuilding. All fiction, every last word. The man had a boat, a mountain of credit card debt he created himself, and a mythology to match. The boat was sitting in a marina 2 hours away, like a mistress made of fiberglass. I put the folders back, closed the bin, placed the golf bag in front of it, walked inside, made a pot of coffee, drank it standing at the counter looking at the backyard through the kitchen window. Something shut off inside me. Not my heart, my patience. 3 weeks. That's how long I sat on it. 3 weeks of making dinner, 3 weeks of kissing Warren goodbye in the morning, 3 weeks of smiling at his Tanya stories and nodding along like I hadn't read the receipts. Literally. I cleaned houses during the day and came home at night and performed the role of Julia Kovach, supportive wife like I was up for a daytime Emmy. Give me the statue. I earned it. Thanksgiving arrived. Dolores's house in Wethersfield. The whole production. Turkey, 3 kinds of stuffing. That casserole with the French fried onions on top. A dining table extended with a folding card table at the end, because Dolores invited 17 people and owned seating for 12. I brought a pecan pie, from scratch, not because I like baking, but because the last time I brought a store-bought dessert, Dolores examined the label like she was reading a criminal record. Warren was already there when I arrived, holding court in the living room with a glass of Merlot, king of the castle. He saw me walk in with the pie and handed me an apron, in front of everyone. told me I might as well make it official before I started scrubbing the counters out of habit. Two of his cousins laughed. His uncle shifted in his recliner. Lily, sitting on the floor by the fireplace with her phone, didn't look up, but she stopped scrolling. I tied the apron on, because that's what I was still doing. Playing along, running out the clock on a role I'd already decided to quit. Dinner started. And Warren, God bless this man's complete lack of self-awareness, because it was truly a marvel of nature. Like watching a squirrel try to drive a car, Warren started on the Tanya monologue. The greatest hits, how Tanya was brilliant, how Tanya was fierce, how Tanya ran that courtroom like she was born in one. And then he said it, the line, the one I started this whole story with. My ex-wife was a lawyer. He lifted his wine glass toward me. My new wife's a maid, 17 adults. 3 kinds of stuffing, and not a single spine among the men at that table. A few laughed, a few looked at their plates. Rick's wife examined her cranberry sauce like it contained a secret message. I looked down the table. Lily was staring at her plate, fork down, not eating. And at the head of the table, Dolores was looking at her son with an expression I'd never seen on her face in 2.5 years of holidays, cookouts, and birthday dinners. Disgust. Not the loud kind. Not the kind where you throw something or yell. The quiet kind. The kind a retired school librarian perfects over 40 years of watching children misbehave and knowing exactly which ones are going to grow up to be problems. Dinner continued. I ate my turkey, complimented the green beans, helped clear the plates, because of course I did. In the kitchen, I was scraping cranberry sauce into a Tupperware container, the old kind with the lid that never quite sealed, when Dolores came in. She picked up a serving dish and started drying it without saying a word. For about a minute, the only sound was running water and the muffled noise of football from the living room. Then she said it, quiet, flat, without looking at me. He did this to Tanya, too, you know. The comparing, except back then it was the other way. Tanya wasn't warm enough, wasn't nurturing, wasn't the kind of woman he really needed. She set the dish down. Tanya was too ambitious. You're not ambitious enough. No woman is ever going to pass his test, Julia, because the test changes every time. I dried a serving platter, put it in the cabinet above the stove. Didn't say anything. Didn't need to. Drove home. Warren fell asleep on the couch watching football with one shoe on, which is such a specific kind of male laziness that scientists should study it. I sat at the kitchen table with my phone in my hands and the house quiet around me. I wasn't angry anymore. Anger is hot. This was cold. This was clear. This was the thermostat clicking off because the system had finally decided the room was done heating. Monday morning, Warren left for work at 7:15, kissed me on the forehead, said he loved me, babe, the way you'd say, see you later to a coworker you tolerate. The door closed. His Nissan Murano pulled out of the driveway. I stood at the kitchen counter and counted to 60 because that's how long it takes for a car to reach the stop sign at the end of Spruce Hill Drive, and I wanted to make sure he wasn't coming back for forgotten sunglasses or his precious beard oil. At 61, I walked to the garage, opened the gray bin, pulled out the divorce decree. Attorney of record for the respondent, Tanya M. Kovach, Robert J. Feeney, Eskinner, Feeney and Carol LLP, West Hartford, Connecticut. I went back to the kitchen, poured a second cup of coffee, sat down, dialed the number. A receptionist answered. Pleasant, professional. I said I was calling about a domestic matter involving Warren Kovach and asked if I could speak with Mr. Feeney. Small pause. The receptionist told me something that knocked the floor out from under my chair. Mr. Feeney had represented Tanya in that case, not Warren. Warren represented himself. He was pro se. 17 seconds. That's roughly how long that exchange took. And in those 17 seconds, the last support beam in the building Warren had constructed, the mythology, the victimhood, the my ex-wife's lawyer took everything saga, came down like a condemned parking garage. Warren didn't have a lawyer. Warren didn't get destroyed. Warren walked into that divorce alone, by choice. And Tanya still gave him almost everything, and he spent the next 4 years telling anyone who'd listen that the legal system ruined him. This man couldn't tell the truth if it came with a gift card and a set of instructions. Hold on, this part. Okay, I'm fine. I found Tanya Brennan's direct line on the Shipman and Goodwin website, partner in the litigation department. I called. Her assistant put me through after I said the word Kovac, which apparently works like a skeleton key over there. Tanya was cautious at first, careful the way lawyers are, every word measured, every sentence load-bearing. But when I told her what Warren had been saying for years, the debt, the attorney fees, the rigged system, she went quiet. Then she said something that hit me harder than anything Warren had ever said. He wasn't dangerous. He was just exhausting. And you can't fix exhausting. Can't fix exhausting. Somebody put that on a coffee mug and sell it at every divorce attorney's office in America. Tanya told me she'd given Warren the house, the furniture, the savings account. She wanted out so badly she would have signed over her car too. She recommended a family attorney named Beth Carrillo at a small firm in Farmington. Said Beth was fair, thorough, and didn't charge for the initial consultation. I called Beth that afternoon. Her office was above a sandwich shop on Main Street in Farmington, which I appreciated because it meant I could get lunch and legal advice in the same trip. Efficiency. Beth reviewed the prenup. Took her about 12 minutes. Then she told me it was a legal Zoom template with our names filled in. No independent counsel, no proper witnesses. She said it wouldn't survive a strong breeze, let alone a courtroom. Warren told me his attorney drew it up. Warren didn't have an attorney. Warren had a printer and a credit card for LegalZoom. That week, I opened a new checking account at Nutmeg State Federal Credit Union, rerouted my business payments, every cleaning invoice, every new client deposit, straight into an account Warren Kovacs didn't know existed. Then I started moving things, quietly, a box at a time. Clothes, documents, my grandmother's recipe box, the good cast iron skillet that was mine before the marriage. Patrice's garage became my staging area. Every Tuesday and Thursday after my last client, I'd swing by and drop off another carload. Warren didn't notice. He never noticed what I did. He never tracked what I carried, what I cleaned, what I organized, what I removed. I'd been invisible in that house for 2 years. For the first time, I used that invisibility on purpose. Turns out the woman who scrubs other people's floors knows exactly how to clean up her own life. Patrice found me an apartment, 1 bedroom above a dry cleaner on Silas Deane Highway in Wethersfield, 1,200 square feet of ugly carpet and low ceilings and a kitchen the size of a generous closet. Rent, $1,150 a month. I signed the lease on a Wednesday. I left on a Thursday morning. Warren was at work. I loaded the last box into the Equinox, locked the door, left the key on the kitchen counter next to his beard oil and an unwashed coffee mug, and drove away. No note, no speech, no scene, no slamming doors, no dramatic confrontation in the driveway while the neighbors watched. I just didn't come home. 3 months later, my client list, 19, including Dr. Kessler's office in Avon, which I called back, explained the situation and landed. My monthly income went from $2,860 to $4,350. I repainted the apartment kitchen yellow, the exact shade Warren called tacky. Warren called 47 times the first week. Patrice kept a tally on a Post-it stuck to her grooming van's dashboard. Dolores called once. She gave me a chicken pot pie recipe. Then she hung up. Dad says you left because you were ungrateful. I don't believe him. That was Lily. 1 text. On a Sunday. I didn't destroy Warren. I didn't need to. I just stopped being the person he needed to feel small so he could feel tall. So tell me, was it the right call? Would you have stayed longer? Gone louder? Or would you have done exactly what I did? Just walked out the door one Thursday morning and never looked back? Whatever your answer is, I want to hear it. Drop it in the comments. And if this story hit you somewhere, if it reminded you of someone or something, there's another one waiting right there on your screen. I think you'll want to hear it. See you there.